So today I want to share with you a few tips on how to reduce your spending and also share with you how I cut my spending in half. If you're new here, my name is Sukanti and I make content about history, culture, and lifestyle. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Let's rewind to 2017. It is 5 years ago. I'm 23 years old and I'm working a somewhat hardcore 9-to-5 corporate job. My lifestyle was, I guess I would say, somewhat luxurious. I was spending a lot of money on restaurants, going out, shopping, trips, concerts, nail salons, hair salons, you name it. Now, all of that kind of came to a grinding halt when I became a bit exhausted with that lifestyle. I ended up taking up spiritual life in a very serious way and moving into an ashram, which I've talked about in a few other videos that you can check out. I'll link them below. So my relationship with money changed dramatically. I began to value my time and space, the kind of mental freedom, the feeling of being centered and being in touch with my feminine side. And I began to enjoy this more than spending money recreationally. Spending money on recreation or entertainment became less important to me. And I realized that if I were to have the more slow, free lifestyle that I had now grown accustomed to, I would have to sacrifice a few things. And by the way, this video is in no way about work being bad or spending money being bad. It's mostly about not wasting. See, what I learned in the ashram is that I was actually wasting a lot of money in the past. So I'm just sharing a part of my ever-evolving journey. So anyway, I prioritize cutting costs and limiting spending so I can have that sense of freedom. And it's also just smart. I was never smart about money looking back, but as I've changed my habits, I can see that the average American actually wastes a lot of money and could be buying very similar things for a lot less. There are so many different ways that we can save. I also want to mention that living more frugally doesn't necessarily mean living in poverty. It's just about being conscious. I really like nice things, and I want my nice things to last a long time. So I personally am not going to go for the cheapest thing. I want to share with you today some ways that you can go for those high quality items that are going to last, but save a lot of money on them. I want my surroundings to be beautiful and I want to have high quality items. That's really important to me. And it's entirely possible by doing the things that I'm going to tell you about now. So these are a few things that my husband and I do to save money, prioritize quality, limit those monthly costs while still feeling abundant and very comfortable. So the number one thing I want to talk about is food. So for us, we are almost always buying groceries in bulk, especially those pantry items like rice or beans or pasta, flour, sugar, honey. So we'll shop at places like Costco. And because also my husband and I lived ashram for so long, we grew accustomed to Indian food. So we end up actually going to an Indian grocery store called Patel Brothers very regularly, I would say. And that's where we get a lot of our basmati rice and different kinds of beans, sometimes different types of teas and spices. We will get spice bags, like a bag of ginger, like dried ginger, like this big. We'll get Sukanti or something in a container like this big. And the prices are quite affordable, so much more affordable than these small packs that you're gonna see in your, local kind of more normal grocery store. And another thing is probably 95% of the time I am cooking at home. So the two of us, we don't really eat out so much. And I know that's a big game changer for some people. People really love eating out. And, that's also something, if you want to continue doing that, you can just kind of build a budget around it. But for us, we've found that eating in and cooking everything fresh at home has been a lot cheaper and also a lot healthier. Another thing that saves money is meal planning. Now, this is something that I'm just kind of getting into. I wasn't really used to doing this before, but I found that it can be really helpful with reducing costs if you create a menu for the week. It doesn't have to be the same menu every week. Maybe it's a monthly menu where you've got a different menu for every week individually. You know what your grocery list is, you know what you're looking for in the store. You're not going to be going into the grocery store thinking, what am I going to cook this week? When you go into the grocery store thinking, what am I cooking this week? That's when we buy a lot of unnecessary items that may be going to waste or we're not going to use. For me, like the saddest thing is seeing vegetables that I didn't use start to go bad. It's really It makes me so sad. So meal planning has really helped me to narrow down what I'm buying, and so that I'm not letting these fruits and vegetables go to waste. And again, it doesn't mean that when we go into the grocery store, we're only buying, what we're using to cook this week. Of course, you can still get your snacks and all your extra stuff. It just means that we don't have all this extra stuff that we don't know what to do with or doesn't fit in with the recipes that we are actually making this week. Looping back to the buying in bulk, since I cook so much at home, I've found that buying in bulk obviously is, the best alternative to a normal grocery store, since I am using a large quantity of pantry items and vegetables on a weekly basis. And one thing that my husband and I have talked about for the future is actually starting to go to a kind of restaurant depot and buying in bulk, like what restaurants are doing. If you think about it, as our family grows in the future, basically, if I'm cooking 2-3 meals a day, I am going to be running somewhat of a small restaurant. So why not buy in these kind of larger qualities at much reduced rates? You can get a lot of the same stuff that you love. And again, places like Costco have big organic sections. And another one of our favorites is Trader Joe's. Many of you love Trader Joe's. The prices there are really, really reasonable. So that's a really good place to get things like cheese or snacks or baking supplies. I've found all those little candy things that you like. They're always at a really good price, and they usually have pretty good ingredients as well. The other thing that I do to save is that I always make my teas at home. So every once in a while I'll go out to a coffee shop or something with a friend to grab a tea or something, but for the most part my, daily morning beverages, those are made by me at home. And I've even invested in some tools that have made it feel like more kind of like a cafe experience. So I have like a milk frother and things like that. And while I did invest some money up front, I do spend less money at cafes and things like that, because I have created the cafe experience at home. And it's also really fun. Making different drinks and hot beverages is actually a big hobby of mine now, and I really, really enjoy it. And you get to customize it way more than you would if you were out at a cafe. Okay, the next section is clothing. This is a big one because I was a big shopper in the past. So this has been a difficult one for me, but one thing that I've found that has been really, really nice with shopping. So the first part about clothing that I want to talk about is thrifting. And so maybe you've seen my video in the past where I show my thrift haul, and thrifting has been something that I never really did up until recently, but I've grown to really enjoy it. So one thing that I do, because I never really liked the idea of wearing kind of someone else's used clothing, but there are so many cool ways to thrift now. There are online platforms like Poshmark and ThredUp where you are basically able to buy clothes that are brand new with tags at a highly reduced rate. And they have all the big brands, most things you can find on there, to be honest. So, and like I said before, I'm a big fan of quality. I'm a big fan of beautiful things. And I do have a past of, buying really high quality, semi-luxury items. And that's what I'm accustomed to. To kind of marry these two things, my kind of luxury past, but my, more conscious living present, I found Poshmark and eBay to be really, really good alternatives to shopping in these labels, because I'm able to find that quality. I'm able to find that, somewhat luxury at a very affordable rate. It's still new. It wasn't worn by anyone else. For me, it's kind of why not? If you can find a Lululemon Define jacket on Poshmark for $50 to $75 less than new in the store, it's the same exact item, it looks exactly the same, why not? So that's been a big eye-opener for me, because now I'm wondering, why does anyone buy things like this brand new from the store when you can get it brand new on a platform like Poshmark or eBay? Another thing you can do if you don't mind wearing lightly used clothing is go to a thrift store in a somewhat affluent area, because obviously it's an affluent area, so the clothing that is being donated there is gonna be really, really nice, and it might not be worn, it might be very lightly worn. You're gonna find a lot of good stuff. Usually if I do go to a thrift store, I'm going to one in a nice area, and I have found things, J. Crew, I've found things with, brand new tags, I found Lululemon, all sorts of really high quality linens. This actually is a nice linen t-shirt that I thrifted, so that is my other thrifting tip for you. Okay, now I want to talk about getting the most out of the clothes that you already own. Maybe some of you have heard of the term shop your closet. So this is one thing that I do, and I I learned it also from a YouTuber called the Daily Connoisseur as well. She's amazing, watch all her videos. So one thing that I do is I take my clothing and I separate it into its seasons. So I never leave all of my clothing out all year. So basically what I'm doing is, at the end of a season, say probably around September, October this year, I'm gonna take all my spring and summer clothes, I'm going to pack it away, I'm gonna put it in the attic, and I'm gonna bring out all my winter clothes. And so what happens when you do that is basically you're allowing yourself to kind of miss your clothing. See, a lot of us shop a lot because we get bored of our clothing, we get tired of it, it doesn't feel fresh anymore, we're looking at it all year long and we're like, ugh, I'm so tired of this sweater, I'm so tired of this shirt. But when we put it away, or sometimes like Jennifer L. Scott from the Daily Connoisseur teaches on her channel, sometimes you can even retire an item for a season or two. I just don't want to see this shirt anymore. The cool thing is, if you retire an item for a couple seasons, or even if you just put your winter clothes away and you don't look at it for 6 months, if you don't look at it for 6 months, you're gonna miss it. And when you see it again, you're gonna be like, oh, I forgot about that shirt, I can't wait to wear it again. So that's what I kind of call, that's my interpretation of shop your closet. That's how I do shop your closet. I like to just kind of put my overly worn things out of my sight for some time and then bring them back and they feel fresh and new. And my last little tip on clothing is to take care of your clothing. For me, what I do try to read those little tags and make sure that I'm washing them correctly. I try to wash in cold water sometimes, and oftentimes with my more delicate items or things that have, stretch in it, I don't want to wear out that elastic, so I will not put that in the tumble dryer. I'll just lay it flat and dry it naturally, and that is going to help make your clothing last a lot longer. Okay, the next one is books. This will be a little bit of a shorter section. Basically, I like to use thrift books. So thrift books is an online store that sells used books, and like Poshmark, you can get pretty much whatever you are looking for at a highly reduced rate. I can even show you right here. I got this book recently, Language of Emotions. It's an amazing book, and I think I got it for under $10. So like I said, you can just go to thrift books and find pretty much anything you need. Another thing you can do is there's an app called Libby. My friend Shama just told me about it. She uses it a lot, and Libby, I believe, is an online resource where it connects you with a library near you, and you can get ebooks, take them out from the library and get them on your Kindle. Obviously you can't keep the book, but you're able to read a lot of books, anything that you want to read pretty much for no charge. Okay, the next one is electronics and appliances. I try to buy electronics and appliances secondhand if I can, mostly from eBay. And similar with clothing, I would say that you can find usually what you're looking for, and there are a lot of, whether it's Amazon refurbished, eBay refurbished, or there's also a website called, I think it's called swappa.com. There's a lot of refurbished tech that is in great condition or brand new condition that you're gonna be paying definitely a reduced rate than if you were to buy it new. Okay, the next one is makeup and cosmetics. So one amazing thing I found is that you can use wholesalers to buy a lot of the expensive skincare products that you want. So I can put some links below of some of the wholesalers I've used in the past, but I'm telling you, you can literally buy like a 2-gallon bottle of hyaluronic acid. You can buy a 2-liter bottle of a retinol serum or an eye cream. This is like very high quality, fancy stuff that these stores, even like Sephora, are selling all these fancy bottles for so much money, but we have access to that. We have access to these large quantities of this high quality skincare. All we have to do is just look, just order it, and maybe buy some glass bottles, to fill it ourselves. But this was a game changer for me. Another thing that I do is I like to use very simple skincare. I actually use sesame oil as my nightly moisturizer. I've been doing it for years, and it's perfect for my skin, and it's really, really affordable. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is fitness and workouts. So I used to belong to a gym years ago, and if you're a fitness person, you're really into the gym, I'm not telling you don't have a gym membership. If that's important to you, then, make it a priority. But for me, I found that I didn't use it enough. One thing that I did in the past is I did invest in an elliptical for my house. For me, that is something that I will use a lot more than I would go to the gym, and it will pay for itself in a few years. Another thing I do is at-home workouts. So I just started again. I took a little break, but I just started again doing yoga with Adriene. Yeah, that's all the yoga that I need need, to be honest. I know that some people like to go and meet people at yoga class, but I'm like, I have a lot of people in my life already. So I really love Yoga with Adriene. It's free, it's on YouTube. Her classes are amazing. She's like the best yoga teacher ever. Really, that is something that has also saved me money. I don't have to pay for yoga class. Even Pilates, I can find a lot of free Pilates stuff on YouTube as well. I can link below some of the instructors that I've used in the past. Yeah, I've really kind of embraced the at-home workouts. And also for me, it really depends on your body type. For me, also a brisk walk is really sometimes enough exercise for me, and walks in the neighborhood are also free. Okay, and my last one, which is free or low-cost dates. Now, I'm not saying that we should just throw all our big plans out the window. Of course, sometimes we need to celebrate, and every couple is different. So if fancy dates are something that you prioritize, yeah, you can work that into your budget. What I found helpful is building in a lot of free to low-cost dates. So there are so many fun things we can do for date night that are really affordable. Some things I like to do are going to the beach, which I believe it's just $8 for parking. And yeah, you can bring lunch with you or dinner with you or just drinks and your book or something. You know, it's just $8 for like something that feels almost like a vacation. The other thing I like to do is go to arboretums or botanical gardens. So there is a beautiful arboretum near me, which again, I think is about $8 for parking. It's beautiful. It's on this historic property with like almost like a manor house and these beautiful gardens, beautiful fields. It's on the water, and you get all of that for $8. And it's really, really fun. It's really, really beautiful. You really feel like you're doing something special. And in the past, also when I was living in the city, one of my favorite things to do with my husband was to just go and grab some drinks or like kombuchas and go and sit in the park. We used to live near Fort Greene Park, so oftentimes we would just, yeah, go get a kombucha and sit, you know, in front of the tennis courts in the park and just hang out. I know that sounds a little simple for people, but you know, for us, we like to keep it simple. And oftentimes going to the park or a botanical garden or an arboretum or the beach, that really is what's fun for us. Spending time together, just talking and laughing, maybe having a snack or a drink that we brought along. So that's about my list. I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section below about some tips and tricks you've learned to save money. This was very fun to put together, and I'm sure that I'll be doing something quite similar in the future as my life develops, and already there are some more things coming to mind that I didn't cover, so I'll definitely be touching upon this topic again. So thank you again for watching. If you like my content, please consider subscribing or sharing, liking, whatever you'd like to do, and I will see you guys next week.